Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son get together and talk about fantasy fiction, sci fi, and other sort of nerd stuff that we enjoy talking about. Today, it's another one of our Just Jim episodes. Since there's no Zachary with me here today, we do have a friend with us here in Discord, and Marguerite is here, going to be interacting throughout the episode as we talk about Blood Rites, Book 6 of the Dresden Files. Zach hasn't read these yet. Still, he does own it. He'll get to it eventually. But for now, it's just me doing these reviews. Before we get into the nitty gritty of it, I should talk about what I'm drinking today. Sorry, it's boring. It's wine. No, it's a good wine. I'm drinking a really dark, you can see, look how dark that is. Pinot Noir. I live in the Pacific Northwest, as many of you know, right kind of on the border of Washington and Oregon. Oregon is really well known for its Pinot Noirs, and this is a good one from the Mary Hill Winery. Yeah, that's good Pinot. Now, why would I drink that for a show like this? Well, simply, I just got back from vacation where I drank way too many cocktails and not enough good quality wine. Honestly, cruise ships are still recovering from the pandemic, so their wine cellar is not very well stocked. I had wine at dinner each night, but it was kind of substandard stuff. My own wine cellar, way better stocked. So I get back, I've had all the pina coladas and Mai Tais and old fashions that I could possibly want, but not any good wine. So, wine today. That's what I'm drinking. Probably every episode this week, I may be doing wine. I hope you're also having an opportunity, if you do imbibe, to drink something while you listen to the episode. Now, if you do this while you're working out, that probably doesn't work so well, but maybe you should just stick with water for this one then. Uh, I don't have any particular notes to get into then before I jump into talking about this book. I do want to remind you that if you like what you hear today, let us know. Go ahead and like this video or like and review if you're listening to the audio version and share this. Tell people about it, help other people find Fantasy for the Ages and see what we've got coming out here. Certainly also always invite anyone who's enjoying our content to join us on Discord. It's a great place to interact. We've got a whole bunch of people talking about all sorts of fantasy and sci-fi on there, as well as just other weird fun stuff. We'd love to get to know you better. Come find us on Discord. The invitation to that is in our show notes, right here below the video or in the notes that come with the audio podcast. Clarification then for spoiler level. As we do the reviews here, as I'm talking about each of the books in the Dresden Files, this is full review and full spoil for Book 6, Blood Rites, as well as fair game on anything in Books 1 through 5. But I'm not going to spoil what's coming up for the rest of the series. So if you've only read through Book 6, this is a great video for you to be following. But if you haven't yet, stop now. Go read the book. Come on back. I'll still be here. You can still hear about what I had to say and see what you agree and disagree with after that. Okay, Blood Rites. What a book. Again, really enjoying the Dresden Files. People talk about certain books of the series as being real game changers, really significant, a big step forward for the overall plot. A book that comes up often in those conversations is book 12, Changes. As I was reading through the series, so many people kept telling me, oh, wait till you get to Changes. Oh, Changes is where it's at, man. Ooh, on and on and on. I don't think Blood Rites gets enough credit. Book 6 here is huge in how it opens up the bigger story of the Dresden Files, how it changes the way we've looked at things without adding a whole lot of new elements to the Dresden Files. We're not going to get a whole nother level of supernatural added in this book, but we're going to deepen what we thought we knew about a whole bunch of different aspects of it that I'll talk about here in this. And I think that's huge. I think that really steps up the Dresden Files universe. So this is definitely an early favorite of the books I read. Now the setting is also part of what leans into perhaps it being a favorite. Is just kind of comical where Jim Butcher decides to place a big part of the story. I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm not going to talk about every aspect of the book. You really got to read it to fully enjoy it, but I'm going to try to touch on what I think are the key, most significant plot points and developments that happen along the way. So, first, I do have to mention the cold open. A lot of these Dresden Files books just throw you right into the action, and something wraps up really fast, and then we get on with the actual plot of the story. And this one fits that mold. We get introduced to the monkey poo demons, what I'll call them here. Uh, as Harry is on basically escaping, getting out of a mission where he was rescuing puppies. Okay, now these were special puppies. These are Tibetan temple dogs that had been kidnapped, dognapped, stolen, and Harry was tasked by these Tibetan dudes to go get our dogs back. And so he's done that, but he's running out of this warehouse where they were being stored, and he's got a box of these little cute little puppies. Everybody loves puppies, and Harry saves puppies. So see, we like Harry Dresden. But he's being chased by a monkey demon who's literally throwing flaming balls of poo. Really? That's pretty creative, though. If you've ever watched monkeys in a zoo, apes, monkeys, I mean, that's one of the things they'll do. They'll throw their poo at you. And this one's a magical demon monkey. So, of course, its poo is firebombing. Enough with that. But Harry does get away. And he delivers the goods. Here's the box of puppies. Yay. And the Tibetan dude, the monk dude's going to head back to Asia. And he's happy. And all is said and done. And they're driving back away now. And what? Harry has a stowaway. One of the puppies crawled out of the box and was hiding there in Harry's car. It's too late. Tibetan guy's gone. What do I do with this puppy now? Well, Harry will just hang on to it until he can figure out what to do. This is a great little thing because you have no idea when you're reading this book where this is going to go. But I'll tell you one thing right now. The dog is not going anywhere. Okay, we got a puppy. Who doesn't love a puppy? So Harry already had a cat, Mister. Now he's got a puppy. And the puppy will become a character of its own. I have to admit, as I prepared for this episode, I can't remember if Harry names the puppy in this book or if it's the beginning of the next book, but I'm just going to tell you anyways. It's a cute little puppy, and it's gray, and it makes Harry think of a mouse, so he names it Mouse. So now we've got Mister, and we've got Mouse, two little animals that are part of Harry's life. Little animals. All right, the primary plot line of this story now is Harry is going to be going undercover on the request of his friend, acquaintance, Thomas Wraith. Now remember Thomas? He's the white court vampire who has helped Harry out in the past, was heavily involved with that whole business that went on at Bianca's place when Harry ended up blowing up a house and burning a whole bunch of vampires, red court vampires, to a crisp. Thomas has that girlfriend, Justine. Well, Thomas has been in and out of interactions with Harry over the past period of time now. He's become somewhat of a regular fixture for Harry, and he's got a request now. He actually wants to put Harry on a job. See, he knows somebody. He's got a friend named Arturo Genosa, and he's a film director. and somebody means harm for him because uh, there have been a couple of deaths at the business that he works at. And Harry would like, or Thomas would like Harry to look into this and try to figure out how to solve it so that Arturo will be safe. Now, I haven't told you enough there, because what's fun is Arturo Genosa, he's a director, all right, of adult films. He's a porn star director, a porn film director. And Harry's going to go undercover as a production assistant in the porn studio. Now, very important, not as a actor, but as a production assistant. I don't know, an elevated term for a gopher. He's there to do whatever is needed to get done to help the director. And it's his cover so he can be on set and try to figure out what's happening because magic is involved. A couple of women have already been killed, and nobody knows how. Should have been impossible the way these people were killed. So clearly, the belief is there's magic involved. So he's going to do this. Now, why Arturo Genosa? Well, apparently he's one of the good guys in the adult film business. He doesn't take advantage of people. He's actually kind to the actors and actresses. He cares about them. He's not perfect. He's got 3 ex-wives. But even they all still seem to like him. He's managed to dissolve 3 marriages without having everything go up in flames. One of those women is still like works for the film studio. Kind of one of the top people in the business with him. So there's these things going on. Harry's got to figure out why, if he's such a nice guy, do people have it out for him? What's going on? And what he does discover is Arturo is going to get married again. And this time, unlike his first 3 marriages, he's agreed to marry whoever it is. Nobody knows who the woman is that he's marrying. He's agreed to marry her without a prenuptial agreement. So if something happens to him while they're married, the new wife will get everything. That's motive. And Harry is going to discover that the ex-wives, the other 3, are actually the ones behind what's going on. What Harry discovers is magic, an entropy spell, is being used, very powerful magic, to cause the women around Arturo to die of freak causes, accidents, things that it's not like somebody's just shooting them. There's weird things happening and women are dying. And why women? Specifically women. Well, again, the ex-wives don't know who he's going to marry, so they're just trying to eliminate all the women. Anybody who might be the one he's planning to marry, hoping they can snuff this out. Pun intended. And all around a porn studio, there are a few women to choose from. Arturo is trying to make sure the show goes on. We've got to keep producing because honestly, he's in a bit of a bind because he's the good guy in the business. He's refused to make some choices and enter into some partnerships that would keep him more financially lucrative. So he's kind of on a last chance with the shoot that's underway right now. He's got to get this film done and it's got to be successful or his business could go under. He could end up being a failure and everything falls apart. And all the people who work for him depend on him and depend on him being successful. So there's some tension here. He's trying to push on, even though people are dying and accidents are happening. Harry on set does manage to stop one of the attacks, leaves a couple of people injured, but they're not dead. And then as he actually figures out what's going on and discovers one of the ex-wives being involved, he's not able to stop an attack. And a woman dies, and it looks like actually Harry did it. It wasn't. Freak accident. Harry had nothing to do actually with her dying, but now it looks like it. So now he's got the police after him too. Let's just make things more complicated for Harry Dresden. One extra element in here that's pretty important is that when women are dying, and some of them are actual actresses on the porn studio, we got to call in some replacements. And this woman shows up. Just wow, a complete knockout. Laura Romani, who turns out not to be who you think she is. This is actually Lara Wraith. Now, it's the same last name as Thomas Wraith. She's a White Court vampire. Okay, do you remember the White Court vampires? What they feed on? It's not blood. White Court vampires feed on emotion. And emotion is really strong when connected with sex. So, holy cow, this is like an all you can eat buffet if she's going to be involved in a porn studio. Except not necessarily so much, because the people involved with making porn films, this isn't about real emotion. This is acting. So that's different. But you can see them wanting, White Court vampires wanting to see the porn studio be successful because it gets people out there very emotional with great strong feelings and being in the mood for things that other White Court vampires could take advantage of. So that makes sense. So he meets uh, and discovers, Lara Wraith, and discovers Thomas is been kind of lurking, watching what's going on, and there's this moment in the book where Harry discovers he hasn't been told everything he should have known. This is when he discovers Thomas and Lara are brother sister, and actually there's another relative, Anari, a younger woman, teenager, who's also around, and she's the younger sister. These three are all related here, and it all goes really bad for Harry and even worse for Thomas, because Harry ends up beating Thomas up. He's pretty upset with Thomas. But then Lara shows up and is threatening to kill them both. It's complicated. But apparently the Wraiths don't have a lot of love for each other. So Thomas and Lara are kind of on the outs as siblings. Anari as well is kind of innocent bystander, but mixed up in this. Anyways, before Lara can do something that can't be taken back, she actually has a gun pulled on both Thomas and Harry. They're attacked by the second plot of the story. Now, this is something that was already introduced earlier in the book. I didn't mention it yet, but there are Black Court vampires involved. We've met a Black Court vampire. It was pretty significant back in book 3, and that was Mavra. Not only is she a Black Court vampire, she was a sorceress. And apparently she's back, and she's got it out for Harry, and she's up to no good. So Harry knows he's got Black Court vampires in town that he needs to deal with again. It's never good when Black Court are around. White Court, you can say, they're not as bad as the Red or the Black. They don't typically kill people, but the Black are just bad. No one argues that. They stink. Nasty stuff. So he's going to have to deal with this. But he kind of shelved it temporarily while he was dealing with the porn studio stuff, because people are dying, and that's pretty high. Gotta address this now. Well, the Black Court vampires don't leave Harry the time to just find them. They come and find him. So right here at that moment when Lara has the gun pulled on both Harry and Thomas, the Black Court vampires attack. Suddenly, all three of them are on the same side now, trying to fight off the Black Court vampires. And they all get kind of nicked up. Lara, not as bad as Thomas and Anari. And Harry gets, a little banged up, because Harry always gets banged up in these books. But it's really Thomas and Anari that take the brunt of the pain of the injuries, and Lara gets them all out of there, and we get introduced to where they live, the Wraith compound. Glancing at the things being dropped in Discord, yeah, lots of stuff here. Uh, just keep feeding him in, Marguerite. Your comments, liking it. Um, Mavra, done with her for now. We've escaped. We're at the Wraith compound. This is outside of Chicago, north of the city, kind of a wooded area, big, fenced off mansion type area with lots of woods. It's very exclusive. It's very out there. It's very well guarded. And Harry is not about to go into a place like this because be in the control of the vampires, including Lara, who was just trying to kill him not too long ago. Um, well, he gets Lara to, and sorry, I go back and forth on how I pronounce it. Lara, whatever comes out of my mouth at the time. Anyways, Lara makes a promise to Harry that he can come on in and has her protection. And if you remember in the supernatural word, your promise, your word is your bond. You don't break a promise. You don't break a vow. It actually hurts you. It hurts your power. So, as Marguerite says, guest rights. Yeah, you are my guest here. That means you have the right of safety and protection now. So, come on in. Okay, comes on in. And some things happen here that are definitely some revelations to Harry, but also to us as the readers, as we learn about the Wraiths and we learn about the White Court vampires as a whole. First off, Daddy's home. Okay, Lord Wraith. The what's the word I want? That's slipping my mind. Oh, I got it. The Patriarch. Okay, he's the Patriarch of the White Court. There is no Lady Wraith. It's just him. He's in charge, and the Wraith household is the most powerful of the White Court. So he's basically king of the White Court vampires. And he didn't promise Harry safety. Lara did, but he's above Lara, so he doesn't have to honor that. So there's some tension and threat there, knowing that, oops, he's here. And he plays that out by arranging for Anari, the youngest of the Wraith children, to end up coming to Harry in Harry's room. Anari was somewhat injured and tired out from that experience getting away from the Black Court vampires. And so she starts coming to Harry, and some White Court vampireness starts happening. She basically starts coming on to him. And ho ho ho, you're just a teenage girl, back off, But at the same time, Harry's like, oh ho ho. White Court vampires, remember, have a power in their attractiveness. You want to kiss them, be with them, be consumed by them. It's addictive. And so he feels this happening, and they actually, my memory says they do kiss, and that stops right away because it burns. She's burning from it. She pulls away and she's got blisters around her mouth now. What the heck's going on? Okay, here's what we learn. First of all, Anari has no idea she's a White Court vampire. She doesn't know about vampires. So when they are young, they have no idea this is a thing. And the family kind of keeps it from them until they get older. And then they will discover it on their own, because what happens is they will have an encounter with somebody where there's sexual involvement of some sort, and they will, by their nature taking hold, they will feed. And when a young vampire feeds for the first time, they're triggered. Okay, they basically become a White Court vampire. Before that, they're just a person. They're just a human. Their inner demon, because that's what it is. There's a sort of vampiric demon that lives within these White Court vampires. They're human with the demon inside them. That's where they get their power and strength. But they also have to feed the demon. If they don't feed the demon, it kind of feeds on them, and they start losing strength and can eventually, wither away. But until that's triggered, they're just a person. And if they actually fall in love, genuinely fall in love before feeding, they can escape the curse of being a white court vampire. That's like a big secret. And Daddy Wraith has no interest in seeing any of his children get away because he wants more people in his household as vampires. It builds his strength as the king of the vampires. So he arranged for Inari to go into Harry and try to take care of, killing two birds with one stone. I can trigger Inari and get rid of this Harry Dresden guy. But it didn't work out. Now, why did she start to burn, get those blisters on her mouth? Well, it's a second thing with the white court vampires. We just said if they fall in love before they feed, they're safe. But after they've fed, once they're a white court vampire, love, true love, is poisonous to them, harmful to a white court vampire. And that was the thing with Harry. He has true love. I'm thinking of The Princess Bride now. True love. True love. Anyways, he's got Susan Rodriguez. Remember, last time we saw Susan, they, had quite an experience in Harry's apartment. And they went all the way. And it was quite a bonding experience, if you remember what I mean. But even though Susan is gone, Harry has not moved on. Harry has not had a sexual experience with anyone since. He's just holding on to that love. And that love of Susan is magically protecting him from white court vampires. They can't touch him, at least not in a feeding kind of way. So that's what happened that kept him safe from Inari. Let's see. Other things we learn about this. Looking at my notes. Okay. As Harry's figuring out what the heck just happened, Thomas shows up. And Thomas gets Inari out of there, and then he reveals some things. The big one, kind of the bomb that he drops here, is that Thomas has been hanging out around Harry, has been involved in Harry's life, has actually protected Harry because they are brothers. Harry's not a vampire. They share a mother. Harry's mother is dead, if you remember. He was raised by his father. He doesn't remember his mother much at all. She was out of the picture early on. And he never knew entirely what happened to her other than she's dead. Well, here he learns that she had moved on to be with Lord Wraith. And Thomas is the fruit of that relationship. Thomas is out to bring down Lord Wraith. He hates being a white court vampire. I mean, there are times it's not bad, but everything the white court is about, he's against. And part of it is because of what happened with his mother. The mother, Margaret Gwendolyn LeFay, things didn't end well for her. And Lord Wraith actually ends up killing her. Thomas knows this. So Thomas definitely against his father. And he knew he had a half-brother, Harry. So now Harry knows it too. Now Harry doesn't want to believe it at first. So Thomas says, soul gaze me. Now remember, wizards have that ability to look in someone's eyes and connect in a deep way where nothing is hidden. And where both get to see the inner selves of each other. So they do that. They soul gaze. And he gets to see Thomas is truly being who he says he is, that their mother is truly the same woman, and it triggers a magical message that she left for both of them. Now, she had already left something for both of them. Harry has that pendant, the 5-pointed star that he carries with him all the time. His pentagram. Well, Thomas has the same thing, exact duplicate of it. Both of those came from their mother, but she'd also foresaw that they would one day soul gaze. And so it triggers her. She appears to both of them. She shares some information with them. It's not really her. It's uh, a memory. It's magic, but it interacts. So Harry has a conversation with his mom, an adult conversation with his mom. This is kind of a moving moment here, um, but does draw from it that yes, Thomas is your brother, and I want you two to take care of each other. I'm glad you have found each other. All right. That's big. That's a game changer now. We don't just have this Thomas guy who's kind of a secondary character in the series. It's his brother. Wow. He has family. He has real family. We knew his dad was dead. His mom's dead. He didn't have any siblings. Now he does. Cool. That might go somewhere. Um, Now, when Thomas had been brought to the Wraith compound, Harry was on his own at first, and Anari had showed up at the room. What was Thomas doing? Well, Thomas was near death. He had been injured in the attack by the Black Court vampires, and had used up most of his strength trying to help them get away. So he needed to feed. And here another thing had been pulled that is not nice. It's a bad Wraith move, but it's how the Wraith family acts. Justine, the girl that Thomas had been keeping around and seemed to like, was told, he needs you, Thomas needs you. And she went to him and she let him feed on her willingly because she loves him. And he just about drains her dry. He needs all of this energy, his sustenance to come back. But just before he kills her, he manages to stop. He pulls back. And she survives. Why did he pull back? He loves her too. Okay, this is an issue. True love can protect someone from white court vampires. But what if you're a white court vampire who experiences true love? Well, now Justine is poisonous to Thomas. He can't touch her. He can't even be really around her because he wants to be with her. He wants to touch her, and no, that's deadly to him now. What a mess. Let's leave the white court now for a little bit. Let's go back to the black court vampires. They're still out there, and Harry's got to move on now. He's got to figure out how to solve the issue of the black court vampires because they're going to keep coming. They're going to keep doing bad things. It's going to be a problem. So he arranges a raid. His probing, his investigations, and his sources help him to discover where they are, where their lair is. And these scumbags, they're using a homeless shelter, a place where women and children with no place to go, those down on their luck, are being cared for, a soup kitchen, a place where they can clean up and stay. And down in the basement, that's where the Black Court vampires have their lair. Human shields, these scumbags. How could they do this? Well, it doesn't matter. We got to get in there. We got to purge. We got to clean out the Black Court. So he gets Murphy to come and help him. Now, Murphy is pretty tense about this because she doesn't want to see people being killed. She's a cop. You don't go around just killing people. They have a conversation that some of these people we're going to see are going to be thralls. What's a thrall? Okay, this is one thing that's being added in here. It's been mentioned earlier because the Red Court vampires sometimes have them too, but it's bigger with the Black Court. Thralls are people whose brains have been pretty much turned to mush. All they are now is yes, master, no, master, and do whatever is needed to protect and support the Black Court vampires. They have no real will of their own. So if you kill them, you're actually putting them out of their misery. They typically didn't say, hey, I'd like to be a thrall. Can I sign up? I understand the pension plan's pretty good. Nothing to do with that. They've been compelled. They no longer have any will of their own. And yeah, you can't get them back out. So the best thing you can do is kill them. So Murphy's not real comfortable with this, but maybe open to, well, I'll judge for myself. Okay, so Murphy. We're going to bring in someone else. He's reached out to Ebenezer. Now, Ebenezer McCoy is the person who took Harry in, if you remember, as a teenager after things with Justin, his former master, teacher, had gone bad, and Harry had killed Justin, and then was under the doom of Damocles. That's all stuff from previous books. Ebenezer was the one that stepped in and said, I will take care of Harry, and I'll watch over him. I'll keep an eye out for him. I'll try to train him on the straight and narrow now. So he calls him up. Come give me a hand here. I'm trying to deal with these Black Court vampires. So as they go on this raid, Ebenezer is the car guy. There's a better term for that in movies, but he's the one sitting out there keeping the engine going so they can make a quick escape, because they're thinking to get down there, zap the Black Court vampires, rescue anybody who might be in trouble down there, and then get away. That's the goal. But that's just two, and really, Harry's thinking that's not going to be enough. Mavra's a sorceress. We could run into some really bad stuff. We don't know how many numbers she's built up around her. So he makes a call, and he brings in somebody who is quite the opposite from Kincaid. I'm sorry, I just said that wrong. Brings in Kincaid, someone who's totally the opposite of Murphy. Now, Kincaid, we met before. That was the person, this big, huge guy who was the bodyguard for the archive, or Ivy, as Harry named her. And Kincaid is a professional hitman, assassin for hire, soldier of fortune, and he's available for the right paycheck. So Harry made a call, and he hired Kincaid. Harry can't afford Kincaid because he's top tier. But Kincaid says, okay, I'll come do it. But you better be able to pay me, because people who don't pay me, things don't end well. And Harry knows this is a problem, but he needs the muscle. So he just agrees to it, figuring I'll deal with that problem if I survive the first problem, the Black Court vampires. So they gather together to go on the raid. Ebenezer and Kincaid see each other and just about go off. Apparently, these two know each other. They have some history. Kincaid calls Ebenezer Blackstaff. We'll come back to that a little later. Ebenezer has some choice words about Kincaid, and apparently we'll come to learn Kincaid is not just a guy. Kincaid is something different, something supernatural. Yes, he's human, but apparently he's also part demon. He draws his skill, his strength, his special abilities from not just good old training. So they've been on opposite sides of issues in the past. They'd be more than happy to go right now, but Kincaid's a professional. He's been hired. Ebenezer is on Harry's side. So, okay, fine. You want us to work together? We'll work together. Now, the funny thing is, as this whole thing goes down, Murphy and Kincaid kind of hit it off. They're polar opposites. Murphy, the law, justice. Kincaid, pay me enough, I'll kill anybody. And yet they start flirting. It's weird. It was entertaining. It was also a little weird. And some people don't really care for a little part of the story there. So some of that flirting that may go on, and somehow Murphy just has to have her pants off. Okay, admittedly, it's a little weird. So if you didn't really like that part, okay, you're not alone. I just kind of laughed and went, whatever. But it was a little weird. But they're flirting. That's pretty weird. Anyways, as they're in the homeless shelter, they do encounter the thralls and the Black Court vampires, and things go bad. In a way, they were ready for Harry. So Mavra and her people, they're attacking, and Harry's group, they're very outnumbered. Ebenezer's not inside. It's just Kincaid, Murphy, and Harry. And they knew they were trying to be sneaky and get in here and find out what they could do and take care of stuff and then get out. And no, they've been totally discovered. And the Black, they're just pouring out at them. Fortunately, Kincaid has some really big guns. So they are doing all right when then Mavra does an attack, a magical attack at them. And Harry has to throw up his shield, his magical shield, and it blocks the concussion of the spell. But the spell was heavily fire based, and we discover Harry's shield is a kinetic shield. Now, that's actually been mentioned before. It defers and blocks force. So, bullets, projectiles, explosions, it can be protected from that, some kinds of magic. He learns to his peril here that it doesn't actually entirely stop fire. Oh, it stops the flames themselves, but not the heat. And the massive fires that come at Harry here and his people, they're held back by the shield, but the shield conducts the heat, and Harry's left hand is practically incinerated. It's nasty. He's in massive pain, but they get away. And they do manage to seemingly defeat the black vampires. And maybe some get away, but they're pretty sure they got Mavra. And victory? Sorta? And they do get out with some children who were captive down there and maybe being kept for food. Ew. But they do get them away, and Harry delivers them to a safe place, some place that can help children get back to their families or find new families. This is a little tie-in to previous books. He takes them to the Church of St. Mary's, I think that's the name of it, where Father Forthill is, the one who knows about the Knights of the Cross and helps out with that. So Father Forthill takes over the children. That's good. While that's being settled and taken care of, Ebenezer is going to have a conversation with Harry, because Harry wants to know a little bit more about what's going on between Ebenezer and Kincaid, and especially what's this Blackstaff stuff. This is a pretty significant information drop that I'm not going to talk about here because it's so important. I'm going to save it for my final wrap-up notes. So just remember, I'm coming back to talk about Blackstaff. I do want to say one more thing about that hand. Okay, Harry does get it looked at near the end of the book, and the recommendation is that it be amputated because it's so damaged. It's likely going to just completely die, and then it'll start to poison the rest of his blood. It goes septic, and it could kill him. Harry cannot imagine going without a hand. Partly just, it's my hand. You know, he doesn't want to lose it. Maybe he's an optimist that it can come back. You know, the doctor's like, there's no shot. This thing is gone. But nope, he's going to be an optimist. But it also has to do with magic. If there's less of Harry, there's less magic. And much of what he does uses his hands for magic. And if he only has one, he'll be less magical. He'll be less capable. So he really wants to hang on to that hand. We'll come up to more about that in future books. That's just a hint. There's going to be more going on with this whole issue with his hand. But we've got some White Court stuff to wrap up now to finish our book, as well as concluding the porn story. It's going to lead us back, actually, to the compound of the Wraiths. And Lord Wraith, this big old place he has, I said it's this mansion, and there's the woods. Well, out in the woods, about a half mile from the mansion, there's a cave complex called, they call it the Deeps. And getting back out there, they discover that the ex-wives who were trying to kill all the women around Arturo were getting their power partly through a connection and a deal they'd made with Lord Wraith, where he'd helped them tap into connecting with the demon. And this demonic power is being used to make the entropy curse. But there's a trade-off now, and now they need to help him do something that he's trying to do. And that's what's happening in the Deeps right now. Lord Wraith is going to sacrifice Thomas. Excuse me. And Harry is coming to the rescue now and teaming up with Lara, Thomas's sister. Not because Lara has some great love for Thomas, but because she doesn't want Lord Wraith to succeed. We discover in a reveal here that, yes, Lord Wraith killed Harry and Thomas's mom. When a wizard, and she was a very powerful wizard, when a wizard is killed, they release a death curse on whoever's done it to them. And this isn't, accident. You die in a car crash, boom, death curse. No, it's not like that. But if you're killed, if you're actively murdered by someone, and you see it happen, you can release this curse on the person who's done it to you. Lord Wraith didn't somehow suffer a curse, even though he killed Margaret Le Fay. Well, turns out he did suffer a curse, and he's kept it secret for years and years. The curse she put on him is an inability to feed. He's a white court vampire who cannot gain any sustenance from people. So he's actually been getting weaker and weaker and weaker for years. He's extremely weak as a vampire, and he is using his people, his abilities, to now sacrifice Thomas in a rite that will undo the death curse. That's the goal. And he can regain his full power. Lara doesn't want that. She has different ideas here. So Lara, Harry, they come on in, they throw a wrench into things. There's some chaos that happens. The ex-wives are overthrown. The last one standing, Madge, actually uses an incantation to try to summon an outsider, he who walks behind, to kill Harry. Now, you might remember this from previous books. He who walks behind was this creature that Harry defeated once before, just back at that time when he'd had the confrontation with Justin. And he was pretty sure Justin had sent this creature to try to kill him. But Harry overcame him somehow. We don't know what an outsider is yet, but this is the second encounter with it. Things go badly for Madge when she summons he who walks behind. He does show up. He takes Madge. And so she's out, and that thing is out of the way now. But remember the outsiders. We're going to learn more about that as the series goes along. The final result of this confrontation, though, is that Lara and Harry are successful, and now Lara will take control of the White Court. She doesn't kill her father. She turns him into a figurehead, her puppet. She will protect his secret that he's powerless, and he will do what she says. So she's not going to become the new ruler. That could be complicated. We're going to let Dad still maintain this facade of being the all-powerful, almighty head of the White Court, but she's going to be pulling the strings. Tied to that, one last thing that happens here is Thomas. Okay, he's saved here from the sacrifice, but Lara doesn't want him around. He's banished. She, however, is going to keep Justine, which is a way to keep Thomas under control. She'll take care of Justine. She'll continue to try to nurse her back to health on Thomas's behalf, but Thomas needs to go away and not be involved with any of the White Court politics stuff. Stay out of things. Don't try to interfere. And if you do, well, Justine will get it. So Thomas is cut off. He's banished from the compound. He's no access to the riches of the Wraith dynasty. What's he going to do? Well, he's got a brother. Thomas is going to move in with Harry. And Harry's little apartment gets a little cozier now, because now he's got not just Mr. and Mouse, who's been added, but now he's got a housemate. Thomas is going to be living with him. One more loose end in the story. If you remember, Kincaid is waiting to get paid. He'd given Harry 3 days to pay him off. And as that deadline approaches, Harry's like, I got nothing. So he calls Kincaid to basically try to talk his way out of it, get some more time, work something out. And Kincaid's like, yeah, what you need? You have another job? Little confusion on Harry's end. Kincaid's like, yeah, I'll if you need something else, just let me know. But I mean, our business is done. You already paid me. Harry's like, what? Phone conversation ends awkwardly. It turns out Thomas used the last of the money he did have available to pay off Kincaid, kind of as a thank you for taking, that Harry was willing to take him in, and brotherly love. There you go. All right, final thoughts. I wanted to get back to this bit about Ebenezer and this Blackstaff business. This is troubling for Harry. Ebenezer, we learn now, is also known as Blackstaff McCoy. And that's an official title, the Blackstaff. What does it mean? Ebenezer, the guy who taught Harry right from wrong, and that wizards must live by a true moral code, and that all magic needs to come from good purposes and for good reasons, or you end up going down the dark side. He's serves the White Council of Wizards as the Black Staff, meaning he has a license to kill. He's the James Bond of the wizard community. He is free to use magic to do the dirty work, to do the wet work, do whatever has to be done. He can kill, he can do things that would be considered black magic, because sometimes someone's got to be taken out. Sometimes, for the greater good, bad stuff's got to be done. This is how he pulled a satellite down on Duke Ortega in a previous book. Because he can. McCoy's a badass. But he's also been lying to Harry all along then. That's how Harry feels. He also learns from Ebenezer in this conversation about Blackstaff and stuff. He learns a few other things. One, Harry's mom had been Ebenezer's apprentice. Why did Ebenezer never share this? And yes, Ebenezer knew that she'd ended up with Lord Wraith and that Lord Wraith had killed her. But he never told Harry this. Ebenezer doesn't care for Thomas, doesn't care for White Court vampires, and so Harry is not about to tell Ebenezer that, oh yeah, Thomas is my brother now. Zip. This whole thing ends with basically Harry saying, you're dead to me, okay? I want nothing to do with you. Get out of my life. That's a big change. Ebenezer has been a rock for Harry. Someone he could rely on, count on. He called him for help, and anytime Ebenezer's been there, and now I don't even know you. Go away. That's why Blood Rites to me is such a big shift in the series. The way it breaks the relationship between Ebenezer and Harry, but also gives Harry true family because he has a brother. It's a vampire, but it's a brother. And we get that deeper understanding of there was more to whatever happened with Harry's mom. And I think we have more to learn moving forward. All right, that's it for this book. Great stuff we talk about here. Next up will be Deadbeat, book 7, which is got one of the funniest moments in the entire Dresden Files series. I look forward to talking to you all about it. I'm actually recording on that one tomorrow. If you are a Patreon supporter, you're welcome to join me again. 2 p.m. tomorrow Pacific time. I'm going to talk about Deadbeat. If you haven't read it, again, don't listen. You got to read the book first. But it's going to be another fun one to talk about as we keep moving through the Dresden Files. In the meantime, then, let me play my outro here. There it comes. I want to thank you all for listening, and Marguerite, thanks for being here and participating. I know you enjoyed this book just as I did. You read these things before I ever did. All of you out there, if you have not read the Dresden Files yet, or if you've only read them this far, keep going. They're so good. And then come talk to us about it on Discord. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We love hearing from you. We even have our email address here in these outro notes. And come let us know what you're thinking about this or anything else you enjoy in fantasy and sci-fi. We'll talk to you next time.